What's up, guys? Today on our household DIY STEM activities, we've got a paddle boat. We're going to be making out of the same things that we used before: popsicle sticks, rubber bands, and a little bit of hot glue. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start the same way we start everything. We're going to take our popsicle sticks and we're going to build our frame first. This will be a little bit tricky. You may want to build it on a piece of paper so you don't get hot glue or whatever type of glue you're using all over the place. But we're going to start with a little bit of glue right on the edge, and we're just going to make a little triangle. Doesn't have to be perfect right now because we'll kind of move it around a little bit later. We'll give that just a little bit to dry. Now we're going to take two more, and this will be the main body of the boat. So we'll do that one at a time, and we'll glue that right there on the edge, kind of on the top, because the glue will run down as it drips. And we want that to kind of be straight. So we'll let that dry. While that's dry, we'll go ahead and do the side over here. As soon as that dries, we're going to go back over here and we're going to grab some scissors, some end cutters, whatever you guys have laying around, and square up one end. So we're just going to break off the round part on the end, and we're going to line it up and kind of mark it where it needs to go. And we're going to do the same with the other side. So now we've got pretty much just a flat, straight stick. Alright, we're going to take some glue. We're going to glue that on both ends. And this will be the rear of the boat. And you can kind of shift it to get it pretty straight. It's not a real big deal, but I mean, you want it to look good. So once we got that, we're going to do the same thing again for the up toward the front, just to give it a little bit of strength. We're going to break off one end, and right where the glue seam is, we're going to do that again. You can break it, you can cut it, whatever works easiest for you. A little bit of hot glue on the ends. And we're going to slide that in. And it's a little bit of strength up to the front. Once again, we're going to cut an end off so we got a flat end. We're going to kind of lay it up and mark it where it needs to be. You can remember it, that's fine too. Doesn't have to be perfect. So we're going to cut that, and then we're going to flip the boat over. The only reason I like flipping the boat over, or whatever we're making over, is because your glue would be a flat surface, and it's just easier to work with having your flat surface. And we're going to glue this stick right back here on the rear. So you're just going to run a bit of glue and go back down. Now that that's done, we're going to do it again. I want to show you guys another way we can do this. Up here where the sticks meet is where we're going to glue at. And by gluing it right there, it gives us a little bit more strength. And one more time toward the front. So a little bit of hot glue. Alright, so we're going to let that dry for a second, and we can go ahead and flip it back over. If you guys got scissors, end cutters, you can take that. Right now would be a good time to take and kind of break off or trim off the excess. You can break off or trim off the excess. That way you don't have to, do it beforehand. You can do it after, just like that. So we're going to do that again up here at the front of the boat. That off. And we're going to go over here and do it again. Alright, so we got the frame of the boat. You guys can cover this because right now, of course, a popsicle stick will probably float, but it's not really a boat if it has water in it. We want to keep the water out. You can use aluminum foil if you have it and wrap it around the frame. You can use tape, construction paper, whatever you guys need. We've got some tape here it's what we're going to use. So we're going to go on the bottom of the boat and we're just going to sheet it with tape. We're going to start in the middle. And we're going to let that run to the inside. So in the front, we'll do the same thing. We're going to kind of fold it up a little bit. And then you're going to get this little point. Just take some scissors and cut that off. Alright, so once again we'll flip the boat back over and we'll sheet the other side. Tape works really good. Aluminum foil, I would like to try it with that because it may work a little bit better. So maybe next time. Alright, so we got that covered. We're going to start folding the sides in first. We're going to fold it up and we'll take scissors and just cut off some of that because we don't need it that far. And once again, we'll just fold that over. Same thing for the back. We're going to fold it up first. Take some scissors and cut off that little overhang. And we'll let that run down inside the boat. Alright, so you guys can kind of see what we're going with here. So we're going to use one more sheet of tape on this side. Alright, so same thing, we're going to start and we're going to fold it over on the edges. And take some scissors and cut off this excess. Alright, so now we have a popsicle stick boat, but now we got to make it move. And to do that, we're going to use rubber bands. So we got a straw, we got some barbecue skewers. First thing we want to do is cut the straw. We're going to cut it into equal lengths, about an inch long. Now that we got that, we'll set those aside real quick and we're going to get a barbecue skewer that's pretty straight. That one looks pretty good. Alright, so we got a barbecue skewer. This is going to run across the boat like on this one. So we're going to cut some paddles and we're going to glue them on first on one side and then slide it through as an assembly. So I got some popsicle sticks here. Cut off the end, and you can make those as long as you want. I'm going to go about 1.5 inches. Once you cut one, you can use it by placing it on top of the other and using it as a guide so you don't have to mark, and they're all the same length. We're going to do that 4 times for one side and 4 for the other. Okay, so we got all 8 cut. These will be the paddles. We're going to take the barbecue skewer and we're going to stand it up on its edge and we're going to glue these in a T formation or a plus sign. So we'll start by getting one and put some glue on the edge, stand the barbecue skewer up, and gluing it straight to the edge, making sure it's flat. We'll hold that in place for just a second, and then we can move on to the next one. So we'll do that 4 times on each side of the wheel. You want these to be pretty lined up. We'll let that dry. And so you get this. If it's a little crooked right now, don't worry about it because we'll straighten it up in just a second. Now that we have 2, we'll go ahead and put a little bit of glue there. And take another one and do the same thing. And this will form like a T shape. So we'll hold that for a second, let it dry. And we'll do that one more time for this side. We'll let that dry a little bit, and then we'll add some more glue all the way around it to make sure these don't move. So we're just going to fill in these gaps right here on the edge with some glue. Alright, so we're going to set that aside. So now that we got that done, we're going to set that aside and we're going to glue in these little tubes to help hold the paddle wheel. We're going to take the end and cut just a small piece off. You can glue this on now or you can glue it on after. We're going to go ahead and glue this on now. So just kind of cut that loose. So now that we have the paddle wheel done, we're going to take these axle tubes and glue them onto this popsicle stick. So we'll do just a bead of glue right in the center. And we're going to drop that down and we're going to put it level with the edge. Once that's down, we'll flip it over and we'll do the other side. And you want to make sure they're lined up because this is what the paddle wheel will run through. So now that we have that done, we'll take it over here and put it on the rear. You want to make sure that you have enough room for the paddle to clear and not hit anything. So we'll go about middle ways of the rear part of the boat. So we're going to take some glue and we're just going to go ahead and glue that up. And stick it down. Now you want to keep it straight because if not your boat will turn and we don't want that. We want to go straight. Alright, so we got that glued on just a little bit. We want to take a glue gun and just kind of get as much under there as we can to help hold this. And also while we're doing this, we'll take a bead of glue and we'll run it down each side of the straw, and that will also help hold. Just make sure you don't get it inside the straw. Alright, so we're going to let that dry a little bit, and then we're going to cut out the center section. But before we do that, we will go ahead and glue a place up here for the rubber band to hold. You can put that pretty much wherever, depending on the length of your rubber band. For this one, we're going to stick right up here. Kind of just put that in the middle. Alright, so now that that's dried, we'll go ahead and we'll cut out the center part. The reason I glued that in to start with is that way we could line it up and it would be a little bit stronger. You can use whatever you have laying around to cut it with. Alright, so we got the center part out. So we can take this and slide through one end, go straight through the other. And we got one, but we're going to have another paddle wheel over here, so we don't need that much sticking out. We'll just break some of that off. This one's going to be a little bit tricky because you're going to kind of have to do it with the axle through. So we're going to start just like we did before. We're going to take some hot glue and straighten on the edge and put it on. And we'll hold that for a little bit. Alright, so we have them all glued. We're going to take and cut the end off that we don't need. And just like on the other side, we're going to go back and put some glue right there in the middle to help hold. And do that in between all the slots. And then on the edge, just to make sure. And right now is the time that you want to try to make sure that they're pretty much straight. And looks good so far. Alright, so now that we have the paddle on there, we need somewhere to attach the rubber band back here. To do that, we're going to take a barbecue skewer. I'll use a piece off this one that we've already cut. And we'll break it, cut it off. Alright guys, so we've got this much done on the boat. We've got the paddles on. We've got everything trimmed out in the center. We've got a mount up here for the rubber band. So the only thing left is to give the axle something back here to connect to the rubber band. So we're going to do it just like we did on the rubber band car. We're going to take a piece of this little skewer and break that off, or cut it, either one, and we're going to glue that on. So we'll take a little bit of hot glue and glue it right there in the center. Make sure it all looks pretty centered. And we'll just kind of cover that in glue just to make sure it doesn't come off, because that's going to take the full pressure of the rubber band once it's twisted. The rubber band we glued on the front, and just like on the car, you'll twist it around using the paddle and you spin it backwards because we're wanting to go forward. Once we do that, let it go, we're good to go. Alright, so we finished up the rubber band bolts. These things work great. We don't have a sink or a bathtub here at work, so we can't really test it right now, but I encourage you guys at home to try it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed this series that we've done on rubber bands, popsicle sticks, some DIY home STEM activities. We've got some more coming out. We're going to move away from this and focus on some other activities. So you guys stay tuned and check it out a little bit later.